Hey fellas, your commissioner here, coming at you for a little week nine, week nine of NFL action. Um, as you can see, it's a nice, gloomy and dreary day. So, oh, gloomy and dreary day here in Little Rock. Um, been raining all day, cold. Not really typical fall weather, but here we are. Kind of indicative of the Razorback season, this weather. Just nothing to, just miserable, just miserable, sad, pathetic. um One of the worst stretches, not only in program history, but I mean in like SEC history. um how bad our team is. I mean, just like 8 years ago, whenever I wasn't a fan and was cheering against them, we were a top 10 team. I mean, we were beating Auburn, we were, beating Alabama, we were beating A&M, we were beating everybody. And just, I don't know if it's me, if I'm the bad luck, you know. Maybe if I stop rooting for them, they'll start winning again. But obviously, we go down to Tuscaloosa, get our ass kicked by a backup. Um, you know, score one touchdown, JSJ. Um, at this point, if I see Ben Hicks or Nick Starkel in the game the rest of the year, I think Chad Moore should be fired on the spot. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get into a recap of last week's matchups. Excuse me. I'll be talking a little weird. My mouth is a little messed up. Um, kind of like burnt my tongue or something, I think. So, um, start off with our Gatorade Zero game of the week. That would be Hurricane Season and the Fat Bastards. Didn't really live up to the hype. Of course, Matt Ryan was out for the Fat Bastards, and David Johnson was out as well. Still managed to put up a respectable game, 138 points. Really, that's behind Cooper Kupp. Monster game, 35 points from him. Guy's an absolute beast. But, Hawk is looking like he's a legit contender here, folks. Puts up 175 points, 36 out of Deshaun, 28 out of Saquon, 42 out of Mike Evans. Really the only position that eludes him, other than depth, of course, is the tight end position. If he had a tight end, I mean, he'd be right up there with probably the best starting lineup in the league. So now Golden Tate, I would expect to take a little bit of a hit once Sterling finally comes back from that concussion. Um, but yeah, certainly a very solid team for Hawks. So he moves to 4-4, and Ford falls to 3-5. Um, oh, how the once mighty, thought to be mighty, getting back up, have come crashing back down to reality for Ford. 138 is a good point total. It would have beat a lot of teams this week. Um, Unfortunately, he ran up against the buzzsaw, so I'm not going to feel bad for him. Happened to me plenty of times, happened to other owners plenty of times. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. Going to my matchup against JD, had another great week, 147. JD drops a pedestrian 119. Really Mahomes being out kind of hurt him a lot. Kirk was not able to step up to the plate. The what was it, $63 man, Ty Johnson, put up a whopping 5.8 points. I mean, it's tough to give you a hard time, JD, on that one because literally half the league, over half the league, bid on this guy. Multiple owners put in a high dollar bid for this guy. And then old Patricia pulls a fast one, pulls old Bellatrix on us, and decides, no, we're going to start Trey Carson that we just started, and give him all the carries. So that was tough. I don't think it really would have mattered. Maybe Amari being in there would have helped his case. Certainly Patrick Mahomes would have made this a much closer game. But your boy's on a 2-game win streak, feeling good. Back-to-backs, or actually 3 solid, very good weeks in a row. Could easily be on a 3-game win streak right now. But yeah, I'm 3-5 and in the 6th seed in the playoffs. If the season ended today, which is kind of a scary thought that someone who's 3-5 could be in the playoffs, but here we are. JD falls to 2-6. Not looking great for his squad either. He needs Patty to come back ASAP. Then we had a battle that came down to Monday night between Kicker Lives Matter and Dirty Birds of War. Excuse me, Duncan was able to pull out a victory behind a 22-point performance from Juju. Wins 112-104. Pretty ugly week. Duncan continues to be unimpressive with his team outside of McCaffrey. But Plunk was not able to overcome buys and injuries. So, he's sitting at 3-5 after getting back to 500. Falls to a 2-game losing streak. Duncan is 6-2. We have the newly named Millen's Understudy, from Hash Gordon to Millen's Understudy. I guess that's Matt Millen, maybe, if I take a guess. The super successful former GM. Matt Millen was just a dumbass, Craig. I don't think you're a dumbass. I think you've just had some bad luck afflict your team. So, he loses 108-156. Rip drops Dawn on him. Aaron Jones, 40 points. Russ really didn't do much, but solid game from Connor. Best game of the season for Jules. Really those 3 guys were what carried Rip this week. D.D. Westbrook gets -0.5 points. Outside of Michael Thomas and Leonard Fournette, Craig's team is pretty poo-poo bad. Definitely not a 6-2 team looking at it now. He's probably gotten fortunate some weeks to get a win. But both these guys are 6-2. And hey, they're 3 games up on half the league, over half the league. So they got to still be feeling at least somewhat comfortable about making the playoffs with 5 games to go. So, not much to say about Rip's team here. He's got a good team, And AJ's coming back next week, so a lot of freaking da. We'll come back to that in a second. Another battle of 2-5 teams. We had the Cataclysmic Catches and the Swamp Donkeys. Good week from Blaine. 121 points, pretty solid. Really carried behind Julio and Matt Stafford, Christian Kirk, but not any production at all from his running backs. Probably has the worst running back situation in the league. His receiver options aren't much better. They're not the worst, certainly, but not something I'd be writing blogs and bragging about. So, Wilson, great game out of him. Tom, good game. Dalvin's a beast. Latavius balled out. Ken Galladay balled out. Tyrell's back, and every time he's back, he scores a tutty. And Logan Ryan is pretty damn good for the Titans. So Wilson moves to 3-5. Blaine unfortunately falls to 2-6. And that brings us to our dog shit never sleeps. The team that never sleeps, the owner that never sleeps. Maybe that's why his fantasy team is so bad. Um, maybe it's just his ineptitude as an owner. Maybe he thinks he used to think that he's better than he is. He certainly doesn't now. That would be Savoy, Mr. Hotel Manager Savoy. 97 points. Only owner under 100 points this week. Obviously we had a strong bounce back week from 7 teams being under 100 points last week to only 1 owner. And Savoy gets to wear the collar this week all by his lonesome. Just not good. Just not good. I mean, Shark is really good. Brandon Cooks goes out early with a concussion. He's probably done for the year, maybe for his career. Doesn't start Miles Sanders. Doesn't start DK Metcalf. I mean, Todd Gurley stinks. He stinks. Derrick Henry came back down to earth. Rudolph, terrible. Just bad. It's just a bad team. And yet somehow this guy has 3 wins. He has 3 wins because he gets lucky and has the least amount of points scored against him this year. I think he has. Let me just double check this. Let me fact check this right quick. He has the lowest amount of points for and the lowest amount of points against. That's the only way that he has 3 wins. He has the least amount of points by like 60 points. And the least amount of points against by like 60 points. I mean, if he had my points against, he wouldn't have any wins. I mean, even if he had just an average amount of points against, he wouldn't have any wins. So, I don't know. I mean, he's still in a decent position, but because 3 wins is 3 wins, but it's not looking good for Savoy. I mean, I don't know how you put him anywhere other than last in the power rankings from here on out until he proves something different. So that's just the way it is. So anyway, let's get into some pickups. I don't think really anything of note. I don't believe there's been any trades. Trey Carson got picked up. Danny Amendola, high dollar pickup for Savoy. Darren Fells picked up. Hawks searching for that tight end cure for his team. We'll see if that can do it for him. So really nothing to note there. All right. So let's get into a preview of this week's matchups. And guys, I got to be honest with you. I'm pretty close to just saying there's no game of the week this week because there's not hardly any good matchups at all. 17-point game, 20-point game, 9-point game, but it's a 2-6 and a 3-5 team. 40-point game, 20-point game, 20-point game. I mean, I don't know. I guess, we'll do this one because I think it has a chance to be closer than it appears at the moment. So we'll start off with Full Chubb. Obviously, I didn't talk about Nick's team at all. He scores 124 points. I mean, that's fine. That's deserving of a win. But, I mean, his team is definitely not good enough to be 7-1. He certainly has gotten very fortunate with his points against as well. But that's just Nick. Anyway, he's projected to beat Duncan by about 20 points. Not a lot to see here. I think outside of Christian McCaffrey, Duncan doesn't have a lot of production on his team. and I think he gets exposed this week as far as the not scoring enough points to really feel good about a win. Um, and drops down to 6-3, bumps Nick up to 8-1, of course. So whatever. Next matchup, we got Rip facing off against Ford. Projected to be like a 30-plus point win for Rip, almost 40 points. Cup's on bye, Hooper's on bye, Matt Ryan's on bye, David Johnson's out most likely. Not a lot to see here. Rip's going to win going away. Keep Ford on that losing streak, drop him to 3-6. And Rip continues to be chasing that first round bye. So, this was almost a game of the week, just because it's projected to be the closest game. But I can't, in good conscience, make a 2-6 JD team and a 3-5 Wilson team be the game of the week. Just wouldn't sit right with me. So JD is projected to lose 116 to 124. Not loving either of these teams. Not really loving their matchups. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. I think both teams will be struggling to break 100 in this one. But I do think Wilson has just enough to creep over the edge and get a win. So let's see. Then we got Dirty Birds of War in the token. Savoy obviously can't be in any game of the weeks until he fixes his team. He's got Kareem Hunt out, Brandon Cooks bye, got Gurley bye, Tyler Boyd bye. Does not have a tight end right now as it stands. Not sure if he's going to remedy that. I don't really know who he drops. Sammy Watkins, I guess. Miles Sanders is questionable, didn't practice today. So, if he's out, it could get real ugly for Savoy. And Plunk might easily cover. I think, once Savoy gets tied in there, and that line creeps up a little bit closer to, like 10 or 15, I think that's easy money for Plunk to cover. Honestly, I think he can cover it now. I think he can cover the 20 now, but Savoy doesn't have a legit lineup yet, so no bets yet on that game. So, yeah, Plunk's going to roll, get back on track. And then we got Craig matching up against the Hurricane season. Hawk is projected to win this one, 135 to 117. Now I took a little sneak peek at Hawk's schedule for the rest of the year, and I got to say, I like it. It's probably one of the easier schedules remaining this year, at least on paper. And I don't know about how his team stacks up with the players' individual schedule, but the teams he's playing, I honestly see him winning out or maybe losing one or two games. So I think Hawk stays hot here and puts up a good solid number, 140, and Craig just can't do enough. Puts up about 120 this week and ultimately falls. Probably covers the spread, maybe. But not enough juice to be able to get a win. Okay, so that brings us to our New York style authentic baked bagel crisps. Roasted garlic. Twice baked, never fried bagel crisps. Or bagel chips, rather, as some people call them. That's a little bit easier for me to say than crisps. That's a hard word to say, crisps. A lot of S's in there, so just the two, but it's a lot. No artificial flavors or colors. That's good. Always love to see that. Decent amount of carbs. Actually has some protein in there. hardly any sugars. You got some fiber, a little bit of fat, a little bit of sodium. It does have some wheat in there, but I usually only have these. I don't just eat these like for fun. I make these with Chex Mix, homemade Chex Mix. I'm actually going to make some probably this weekend because it's really good. So anyway, New York style bagel crisps, the official bagel chip of the Morris Men's Fantasy Football League. Very garlicky. Who would have thought? They don't taste anything. I've never even had them outside like the Chex Mix. They taste totally different. Honestly, I think they taste better outside the Chex Mix without that stuff. So. All right, stay. All right, so that's the Swamp Ass Donkeys and the art of the deal. Now, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Laz, you just said you couldn't make a 2-6 team and a 3-5 team the game of the week. And this is projected to be a 20-point blowout. Well, you know what, fellas? You're right. But guess who's the commissioner? This guy. Guess who hasn't been a game of the week? I don't think this year. This guy. If there's no apparent game of the week, it's going to come to old commish. So anyway, I do think that this is closer than it appears on paper. Right now, I'm projected to win 130 to 107. Blaine doesn't have his defensive player in currently. Projected for about 9 points. So, we're really calling about a 12-point victory right now, according to the projections. Battle of the quarterback. We got Matt Stafford at Oakland versus Aaron Rodgers in LA. I think Matt Stafford continues his hot streak, rolls up, and I don't think he quite duplicates what Aaron Rodgers did in Oakland a few weeks ago. Hopefully not, anyway, for me. But I do think we're looking at a 35-point game at Stafford easy. And I think Rodgers might struggle a little bit against the Chargers. So give Blaine the edge there. Battle of the running backs, we got Ronald Jones and Ezekiel Elliott versus Tevin Coleman and Royce Freeman. Now, obviously, Zeke is the best running back in this matchup, but Ronald Jones is so bad that the combination of Coleman and Freeman, I think, gives me the edge there in that matchup. I think that they might barely outscore Zeke by himself, but I don't think Ronald Jones really contributes at all. So, battle of the receivers, we got T.Y. Hilton, Robbie Anderson, and Tyreek Hill versus, versus Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, and Mecole Hardman. Yeah. I'm going to have to go with myself there at the receiver position. I think Marvin Jones has a good game, but outside of that, I don't see a lot of production from any of those other two guys. I think Robbie does have a good game finally. Xavier Howard got put on the IR this week, so that's huge for him. Not have to be shadowed by Xavier, one of the better corners in the league. Battle of the tight end, we got George Kittle versus Hunter Henry. Green Bay struggles against the tight end, but I got to go with Kittle there. He's just the better player. And then battle of the flex right now, I have Mark Walton. I've got several players I'm thinking about swapping in and out there versus Damian Williams and Minnesota. I think ultimately whatever I throw on my flex there should give me the edge. So we're gonna have to go with myself to win this one. But like I said, I do think Blaine makes it interesting. And come on, man, stop getting out of focus, damn it. Does enough to scare me a little bit. I mean, it's certainly in line with what most teams do against me. So Anyway, Hogs are playing homecoming this week, Mississippi State. Like I said, if KJ or if it's not KJ and JSJ the entire game for every game for the rest of the season, um, get out of here, Chad. So it's just there's just no point. There's no point in neither one of them seeing another down the rest of the year. So anyway, that's all I got. Official prediction: Mississippi State's going to win. We'll call it 38-17 maybe. So anyway, good luck this week, fellas. Be safe and whoop big.